Meeting to order. Thanks everybody for coming in during this stormy day, but appreciate it. Is there any agenda additions or deletions? Anybody have any?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we remove our guest of V-Trans tonight as they have canceled due to the weather.
All right, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Any other agenda additions or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor, oh, never mind. Approval of the minutes of, with the workshop.
So moved.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
I wasn't there,
Yeah, I was
so I
gonna say, Mr.
recused
Chairman, I
myself.
would.
Oh, wait a minute. I abstained. That was from last meeting?
No, it
No,
wasn't.
the workshop.
Quarter line
Oh, the
meeting.
workshop.
Quarterly, yeah.
You were there.
I also would like the record to reflect that I'm abstaining from voting due to the fact that I was not present either.
Mm-hmm. You have that down, George?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Who can say aye?
Aye.
Aye. I ask for a motion with the regular meeting, June 26, 2023.
I will make a motion to go ahead and approve those as presented.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I'll abstain. Wasn't
Okay.
here.
You have that, George?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, highway. Road Commissioners report. Go for it. Cash.
Well, we kind of discussed it in our workshop meeting, but, the Better Roads grant, we need to execute that. Is that correct? There should be,
I believe it's just the chairman has to sign it,
Yeah, I think so.
from what I saw. Are you asking for that now?
yes.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and execute the Better Roads grant for Tier Road, which is the $20,000 grant with a $5,000 town match,
There's a second for
And
discussion.
Mike sign it.
and have Mike sign it.
Yeah,
I'll second.
okay.
Who second? Art?
Art seconded. Yep.
All right, let me just, before I call a motion.
It was a little sticky.
Yeah, I see that right here.
Yep.
But I just wanna, she had the paperwork all, it was stuck underneath the. All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. Go ahead.
Next, we have the Grants and Age project. That project there, Alan May looked at it as a pre-project site, and that would be on Quarterline Road, by Kerry Williams to almost Eddie Baker's driveway. We need to replace culverts and redo the ditch line. And we're looking at using that grant of Grants and Aids to doing that project. That'll give us 3 segments. That'll help us with our MRGP of doing so many segments per year.
So it's going from the, what's his name's driveway, north or south?
Yeah, just, I think it's about 80 feet south of Eddie's driveway, Eddie Baker's.
So down the hill.
Down the hill and across the flats
Yep.
towards, and Kerry Williams's house,
yeah.
almost in that corner.
Okay.
But it's north of her driveway, just north of her barn driveway,
Okay.
right now, the general area.
I'm with you.
We don't need any action. You're just
No.
letting us know about that.
Yep, just let you know.
Yep.
just for update, we have issues with the washout after this flooding we're having today and beyond at South Creek Road. At the first set of guardrails off Walker Mountain, actually the bank's given away, undermining the road there. After the water recedes, we're gonna have to really look at that as a complete dig out and restone to support the bank so we don't lose our road like it did before in the other section down below years
Where's
ago.
this again?
Almost to my sap pumps.
Almost to his sap pumps. There's a
Oh.
set of guardrails there where people pull off.
Yep.
Which that section
and-
got done back in 2000. It was when the guardrails got put in. It got done in probably 2 years after I got on the board. Probably 2013, 2014, somewhere in there it got done because it collapsed. And they put giant stone in the bottom and then
Yeah.
they phased it up supposedly. So this water may expose some of that.
Well, I'm thinking that probably that's where it's eating in is where they stopped the north end of it
Could be.
and they did a little bit
Yeah.
where they did the taper. That's what I'm thinking.
Because we put for almost a month, we had to take Daryl took Jersey barriers. There's a mouthful over and barricaded the road for probably around a month while it got because we consulted with VTrans at the time, and VTrans gave us the fix for it.
And
I can't remember if you were still on the board at that point, George, or if it was right after you got done.
I was trying to recall, I think, I can't remember for sure.
So
And with that being said, today, emergency management, because of the flooding, contacted me and wanted to know about any issues and stuff. So that got reported to Stephanie at Rutland Regional Planning Commission. So that's on the docket.
it's on the docket for
Yep.
probably if there's flood money. There'll
Yeah.
be money flowing
Right.
for this one. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So just to give you a heads up. The other thing is we got issues at train station, as we know, with the recycling bin. The unit keeps going down, the compactor. They bring in a bin to hand do, just throw the recyclables in, and it's amazing how much recyclables come in and fill that thing up. So we're bringing a loader off the mountain every other day just to pack
it.
that thing down and try to keep it back down. My suggestion is get after Chrisella and bring them another dumpster so we have two of them there, so we can only bring the loader down every 4 days or 5 days instead of every other day, because that takes, there you go, guy, gotta take somebody else up to pick up the loader because we're doing the project on the mountain. You know, that's a 2.5 hour thing by the time you do all the man hours.
What's the problem with the,
They have problems with some
Compacted, they're trying to,
electrical issues or
Yeah.
something. This has been ongoing for almost 2 months now.
Is
They
it
had
a
a
matter
guy-
of not having the correct technician there, or do you have any idea?
well, no, that's what
There,
the problem was initially. They said that they had it fixed. They used it for about 20 minutes and it,
Stopped.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, so then they went down to inspect it again, according to Horst. And, well, this is broken. We have to change this out. And so they haven't done anything on it other than just bring that.
Yep.
They had a real big box down there, trailer, and then, a container, whatever the hell you want to call it. But then,
Roll off.
yeah, then people couldn't reach up over the top to throw their stuff out.
Yeah, that could be, that was a
The
problem.
Well,
keyboard in the back corner of the room is feverishly writing right now, and I think we'll see what happens.
good. I believe that's all I have. My suggestion is we can get another dumpster over there, but
That's all you have under highway grant and aid project. So I'm wondering if we couldn't jump down to Quarter Line Road discussion because of the weather and stuff. We can get,
people home back
yeah.
up
So
back up the Core Line Road.
Yeah, so somehow. Has everybody signed their name out there? Good.
Thank you.
We noticed, actually, let me say this. I sat up there 3 different days. Once early in the morning, and that was the first time I counted, I think, 12 cars, 12 vehicles. And I was there for probably only maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. The second day I went up there is after the excavator, or the grader was just leaving when I got there, so it was in the afternoon, and there was only like 2 or 3 cars at most went there, but it was early afternoon, maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock somewhere. And then the following day, this is when you guys were up on Tier Road, meeting with the state. I sat up there for about an hour, and I only counted maybe 3 cars, and that was in the afternoon. So I'm not sure the discussion that you guys were hoping to have here about that car counter, is that what your main concern is now? So I want on public TV to let each select board member weigh in and give their thoughts on it. So Art, do you want to start it, or?
Yeah, I'll start it. I don't think the Clarendon Select Board should get involved with Rutland Town roads. If Rutland Town needs to know how many cars are on that road, they can get a car counter. Have you folks asked them to put a car counter on there? I don't think we should get involved. Not this select board. The town residents, fine, but the select board, no. That's my opinion.
How about you, Rob?
Same feeling.
Me personally, because, taxpayers came in and asked to have this looked at, and then after sitting up there myself a little bit, but then seeing that whatever initiated them to fix their road, maybe it was discussions they were hearing out of town. For me personally, it would help our town out if we did have the counter, because that would give Cash some information. But that's my opinion. George?
Yes, one of the things that if we did have a counting device up there, it would have to be on the quarter line portion. We certainly wouldn't presume to put it on the Rutland Town side.
Yes.
And I certainly was of the opinion that it might be information that would be of use to Clarendon in terms of road whatever. The other thing that I thought about and was thinking about is that when we talk to Rutland Town, and I guess there's some folks that may not think that's a good idea anyway, but when we talk to them, we have very few items in my mind that we could really use as a persuasion. And I think we're talking emergency vehicles and police vehicles and whatnot is in my mind is one of the top priority items that would certainly be persuasive, I hope, for Rutland Town to entertain maintaining that road. The other thing, of course, in my mind, maybe they would want to know the count from the standpoint of saying no to us or yes to us. I don't know. So I was in favor of it when it was first brought up. And if Rutland Town takes that as an insult or whatever, disparaging suggestion, I don't think we'd be any worse off than we are now. So that's my feeling on it.
Cash?
That's a yes, by the way.
Yeah.
My thought is, after working up that road and stuff, it is what it is. And if we're to use a car counter, I just soon see one go on like Squires Road. So when people ask me, why did you bother doing Squires Road, repaving, reconstruction, because of the traffic goes on there. If we're going to do a car counter, that'd be the road put it on, to answer the questions of how much we invest in this town, and something that's used a lot by the log trucks, and school buses in Mill River High School. You know, and I totally understand. Yeah, you want to know how many cars, but my feeling is, if pushed too much throughout the town, there might be some rebellion. There'd be too much, might be too much rebellion, you know, backlash. My thought is, just like I said before in the meeting, I don't think you were there, the meeting we had here, is get the resources behind you, the EMS, the emergency response vehicles and stuff like that, post office, and not overwhelm them with a lot. I mean, I'm impressed with all the information, resources you guys did. It's incredible.
It's called Google.
Oh,
Cash, I think it was before your time, but I believe they had a car counter down by the ball field maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
mhm.
And I don't know if that information is still, could still be dug up of what the actual car counts were back then for that road.
I don't remember that. By our
I have no
I
idea.
think it was somewhere, it was actually on the Coeur d'Alene Road. It wasn't on the paved part, it was on the dirt part. And I believe it was maybe even down pretty near to Kerry Williams's, or
Yeah,
maybe right in there by the ones that work CV there.
Mandeliers.
a Mandelier.
Mandelier.
But it was somewhere right in that area, I believe.
Huh.
And it was there for maybe a month.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I mean, I've been on the board probably longest
Oh,
here,
yeah, you've been on the board, but.
30-something years.
I remember it being there, and I think it was probably something with Daryl.
Hmm.
But I don't know if that information was ever.
Has anybody asked Rutland Town?
I have spoken with Rutland Town,
And what did,
not about that. I called Rutland Town because Sharon Garofano, who's one of their select board members, suggested that I call and reach out to either Bill Sweet or Dave Sears to let them know of our concerns. So I had a conversation with him on Friday morning. It was a very pleasant conversation, and while I do appreciate, we always have to be mindful of not, causing someone to feel backed into a corner so that they are feeling pressured. I think that it's really important for us to be really working more from a factual perspective. So that's something to be mindful of. It turns out that, I had a great conversation with Bill. And one of the things that he was unaware of are the emergency vehicles. He was under the impression, based on what I understood him to say to me, is that because part of that road is class 4, emergency vehicles would not travel on a class 4 road. Part of his misunderstanding, if you will, is that he was not aware that there are some of us who are on the northern section of that road, and emergency vehicles would absolutely be going the shortest route, and that it had nothing to do with class 4. So I was able to tell him about my conversation with Jim from the regional ambulance, and that we had also heard from Matt Jacobowski. And he said that, he would give them a call, which I encouraged him to do because he should hear it firsthand. The other thing that I had shared with him as well is that the VTrans map that we were looking at clearly indicates that part of that road, I think it's a 10th of the road, is actually class 3, where 3 homes from Rutland Town residents live on that's not been maintained. And it's 3/10 of a mile that is class 4. He saw that differently, which is okay. He's using the 911 map, as I understand it. When I print the 911 map out, it actually works in our favor because it indicates the entire Coeur d'Alene Road up to, to the Clarendon, or the Rutland Town Clarendon border is class 3. So I think he's probably going to have to look at that again. I also let him know that during the winter that there were citizens actually plowing the road. And he was under the impression the road was being plowed. And so I was able to share with him that it was not, and he did have some concerns. Now, whether that conversation prompted the grading in the afternoon or not, I can't say, but he was pretty sure that he was right about the emergency services. So again, it was a very pleasant conversation. We talked about, meeting on is it the 20th? The 20th of July, and that, the goal was, how do we work together to make sure that the road is maintained? He had also said, well, we can't afford to upgrade that road and not plow it, excuse me, and pave it. And I said, Bill, that's not at all what we're looking for. I said, all we want is what you guys have been doing a really great job doing for the past 30 plus years that we've lived on Coeur d'Alene Road. I said, you grade it. If there are potholes, we make you aware. You come and you take care of it. The plowing is done. I said, honestly, we've never had a problem, but we understand that you guys have had some challenges with contractors dropping out and, you trying to hire people. So I said, we certainly appreciate the challenge that you're having. So very cordial, very encouraging, not combative, not defensive at all. It was really just, hey, here's what we've learned. Are we on the right track? And he was sharing what he was aware of and what he knew. So the idea that we would want to get into this back and forth, situation, I didn't find it to be, that way at all. It was merely exchanging information. So when you all are looking at the, the car counter, I agree. I think it's good information for both Clarendon to have and Rutland Town to have. If it's information that isn't of interest or it feels like that would add pressure at that meeting, then don't go there. Just leave it alone. But the car meter also is very sophisticated in that it will give us the pressure of, the travel, which I would think would be important considering we've had some pretty big trucks going up and down there. It will also give the type of vehicle, the frequency. So the amount of information isn't just the number of cars going back and forth. I would think it would also be really helpful to you, Cash, as well as Dave Sears, in terms of knowing, what kind of traffic is there and validate, hey, what we're doing for the road, we know, we have some really good practices in place, and it could possibly be, oh gosh, we didn't realize this was the type of traffic. Maybe we need to look at this a little bit differently. So it shouldn't be used, nor was any of the information or the intent of any of us, which we've said over and over again, to cause any pressure. Pressure is not going to work, but information can be really beneficial. And if we don't, go ahead with a car meter now, are we going to then go back to Rutland Town if we aren't able to work through this? I don't think that that's a good way to go in my experience. It typically doesn't work to go back to the well twice. Go with the information, be informational, come out with a solution that seems to work. And based on the fact that it was graded, I think that they are willing to, look at this perhaps a little bit differently. That I just think it's worth it. And like I said, I actually had the experience of working with him, and it was really, really helpful.
I did mention this to Art Peterson. Actually, he called me, and we talked about this a little bit, and we had some information about Class 4 roads. If they're only maintained as a trail or something like this, then the town is responsible for keeping that trail safe. But if you take a Class 4 road and you clean it up a little bit, as is the case here, then you have to maintain it. That's what the state's telling us.
Yes.
And that's what some of the investigating that we did here with Katie. That's why when we were talking about Horton Road, the select board, I mean, in that same conversation, it's on PEG TV, you can look at it. We were saying, no, once you maintain it to a certain point, then you gotta keep that certain point. So we didn't wanna get involved with it.
A road would tell you itself, if you read the road, of how it's held up. If you keep getting potholes, apparently there's something that needs to be done, something different maybe, whether it be material or whatever.
They may find in the future that they may want to do that, but that's not what we're asking for now
Right.
from them. You know, it's just like
Well,
what they did this past week or 2 weeks, however, a week, is more than fine. To your point, when you were up there checking on traffic through there, come by on a Sunday or come by on a Saturday. You'll see a lot more. This doesn't cost anything. Planning commission would do it.
Provide it for free.
And go in front of my house. I mean,
And we'll see, my initial thought was, Jesus, we're gonna put this in here, we're gonna have to pay for this thing. But once I found that out, I mean, nothing is for
it's
nothing, but
information.
Well, go to Rutland Town
Well,
and
here-
ask
here-
them,
Well,
would you
here-
put it
here-
there?
Here's the thing. If I was a selectman at Rutland Town, the first question I would ask is, how many cars are going by there? So if we can provide them with the information, if in fact they do ask that, if we have to go to the information, we will give it. If we don't need to use it, we won't use it. It's information for us as citizens. We're not asking the town of Clarendon to step in, you guys here. We are not asking you to step in on this thing. We just want permission.
You
to
are,
get
you're
there.
asking us, cause we're the ones that have to approve
I
it.
disagree.
We have to okay it.
You'd actually,
You don't
yes,
have to
you
do
do.
anything.
If we don't have to okay it, then you call planning commission and have it put in.
Well, that's fine. We can very
If
much.
It has
that-
to come,
If
it has to come from the board or
Well,
from
then
staff.
that's what I'm saying. You're
Yeah.
asking the board to do something, and we don't want to get. I don't think the board should be involved. That's just
Can
my
I-
opinion.
I would like to make a couple more points, following on the heels of what you said, Mike. One of the things, I did call a person who's worked in town government for probably over 20, 25 years. And one of the things that he did say is that if a town takes care of some of their class 4 roads, they have to take care of all of them. Otherwise, it's going to be considered a discriminatory practice. The other thing that I do wonder about, and I don't have information on this, but if the select board votes no tonight or yes tonight, would that, and I'm not saying this to pressure you, I don't want you to think that's my intent. It is honestly a question. If you start picking and choosing the roads that you decide, are going to be, the car meters are going to be used on, isn't that kind of the same, like favoritism? And just because some select board members, and I respect your opinion, feel as though that is pressuring or getting you involved. You've told us, some of you want nothing to do with this. We get it. All we're asking for is one more bit of information, and our hands are tied if you vote no. But what happens when the next group of citizens comes to you and says, hey, we want the car meter, we want our road monitored because we want this information? Have you not then set a precedent where you're either saying yes or no to us and then turning around and saying something different to them? And the only reason that you would be saying no, some folks, is because you don't want to get involved. Well, because you're afraid it's going to pressure Rutland Town. You don't know that you're going to pressure Rutland Town. I've just sat here saying I've actually had a really wonderful exchange with Rutland Town, and it was information sharing. So I feel as though it's, I'm not here to convince you, but I feel as though we're being told, take care of it yourself. We've done a ton of research. Everyone here has been involved doing a ton of research. This is not a big ask. It's free. And I do worry that it sets a precedent, in terms of what can and can't be done in the future. We shouldn't have to be disagreeable with our own select board, which is what I would hope wouldn't happen.
I would like to make a note on this. Well, let me even do it this way. I would like to move that we approach Planning Commission and see if they'd put a device to count our cars going on Coeur d'Alene Road. That's a motion
in the town of Clarendon.
in the town of Clarendon.
Can I say something before you do anything with that motion? You don't need to vote on it to get a car counter.
I realize that, but this folks here seem to,
Just sharing information that came from a very good source that was a town manager for 35 years in the state.
okay. So that's the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Should I put in there that you choose to do the north end of the Coeur d'Alene Road? Or not the center of the Coeur d'Alene Road or the south end of the Coeur d'Alene Road? Because Mr. Belden, Cash can tell you the same thing. Mr. Belden, on a good day, he may have as many as 15, 20, maybe even 30 or 40 trucks
Yep,
traveling that road,
yep.
which is gonna come over Rutland Town's Road and right up through there.
To that end, I amend my motion to say, place it on the northern portion somewhere.
All right, is there a second for discussion? I would second that motion.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
The only thing that I will offer, I really wasn't going to say it in public meeting just because you put words to something and it may happen. Has anybody but thought of the fact that this information could backfire on us? Because the other town could then use this information to say, see, Clarendon, you're dumping this many cars onto our road. This is why we want you to take care of it.
And then you make a counter offer to say that if the town of Clarendon is gonna take care of that section, you will pay us. I mean, it could be an ongoing conversation.
Yep. You have a hand up.
Did you, I'm sorry.
How's Rutland Town gonna get the information unless you share it? I mean, that's gonna be information from the planning commission to Clarendon. So unless we take that information and actually give it to Rutland Town, I don't understand how they're,
Because it's been stated in multiple emails and it's been stated on this board that it's being taken to the meeting on the 20 whatever. That if this information
Well, we
is
have-
present, it's been stated multiple times that it's going to go to that meeting.
It's not what we said.
But it's not all Clarendon people that are just traveling over that meter. You have Rutland Town people too that are coming.
Correct,
across.
but it's in the it's in the email chains. It's been that we want this information to go to the meeting. It's been stated multiple times that that's the whole purpose of the information.
Yeah,
So you can present it to Rutland Town. Why? What other reason do you need the information?
well, I think that it's important for the town of Clarendon to have that information.
Well, the town of Clarendon has no idea how many are cars on any of its roads. So why is this the only reason that we're even thinking about putting this on there is so that we can inform Rutland Town, or the residents here can inform Rutland Town how many cars are going on there.
Doesn't
That's
that
the
make,
only reason we're putting it up there.
But-
There's no other reason.
didn't Cash just say that he'd like to have that counter put on another road?
If we did have a car counter or something like that to cover my butt of people saying, okay, why are you dumping that kind of money on a tire road up there?
you're not paying anything.
Yeah.
It's free to get the
No,
cameras.
no,
Free.
no, no, no,
Different
no.
from
The cost of the project.
Well, forget the projects.
re-
Just look at the information first. You can't do projects in a state of ignorance. You need to get the information first.
Well, it seems to me that if we put it on the Quarter Line Road, it'd be very easy to have it moved over a week later onto the Squire Road.
Well, and I thought I did read where Clarendon is discussing doing a highway for your speed limits,
Right, that was a
lowering them.
discussion.
So this could be part of that information, even though
Certainly
it's on
could.
a gravel road.
And that's a good point, because I'm sure there's a few folks that go up through my house on the Quarter Line Road that are probably going more than 35.
Guarantee it.
Plenty
Absolutely.
doing 50 on the Coeur d'Alene Road.
To this point, excuse me a minute, to this point, I think, George, you're making a good point where, if we have the counter up there, we get, what's it,
Information.
for a week,
Yeah, that's
2
normal
weeks.
time, yes.
and then we throw it down to the other roads.
Squire Road.
That would show Rutland Town that we're just doing inventories on our roads. And we're not using this against you. But we're not forcing you. That's a good point.
And I will say one thing, I was so surprised at when the road was graded, in fact, Mike stopped and told me that. I got in the car and went to find out and try it, and I did. And I went and got 24 donuts to take to Rutland Town with a little note that said, "Thank you for fixing the road or grading the road," or something like that. But then I realized I'd made a mistake because I didn't ask for board approval.
So how were the donuts?
Well, there you
Promise
go.
I didn't have any.
However, you'll note if you go there now, the potholes are starting to reform in the same place they were there before.
There's
Well,
no-
because
there's
it's been
no
raining
place.
pretty severely.
But the other part, our part of the quarter line road, there's no potholes and no nothing. It's perfectly fine. Part that cash is, those guys have rebuilt.
This is why I said in my comment earlier, reading the road. And if you fix it somewhat, whatever, and it keeps potholing back, there's something going on, change your train of thought. Okay, sit down, figure out, is it material? Is it the grader? Is he digging deep enough?
All of that,
I got
all of
that.
that.
And I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
They allow this stuff to get down to that, the regrind
The regrind.
layer, and it punched a few potholes through that regrind layer. Then they filled them in, and those are the places the potholes are reforming every time. Same spot.
Most likely. Anyways, Mr. Chairman, you said something about negotiating with Rutland Town if they suggested that we fix the road or something. Is that what I understood a few minutes ago?
Yes, if, to Art's point where we're forcing you to do this because we're getting a car counter, so you take care of the road. Well, then that's when I said that if that's the case, then you'll pay us an hourly wage
Robert said that.
like a contractor, but. I
Well,
don't-
that started me thinking about something that I've been worrying about, or not worrying about, fussing about in my mind, I guess. And that is that we have a good road crew of 3 people that do a fantastic job, and Cash seems to be very happy with the 3 folks. And I've always wondered, having been in many places over the years, okay, if somebody gets sick, which happened this last winter, and we had 2 people that did a fine job on the roads, then the thought that crossed my mind is, what happens if we have 2 people out at the same time? So if Rutland Town wanted us to fix the road and gave us enough money that we could hire a 4th person, maybe, what the hell? So, just a thought. And
Yeah.
apologize, I didn't want to contradict any of your feelings about the number of people.
I think there's a whole bunch of what ifs.
Of course there are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I see it just simply as, we're happy that it got graded. We're happy if they come in and fill up the potholes, even if they do keep on surfacing or reappearing. And then we'd be happy if it got plowed through 2 times in the course of a snowstorm.
Yep.
Just to get the through passage through there. Because we're talking about, we're not getting any younger up there on the Quarter Line Road, safety-wise. We've already been told by the ambulance service, the fire department, and sure as anything, if we had a fire, I'm calling Clarendon, but I'm also calling Rutland Town because they're at the base of
Center
the hill.
Rutland.
So, and West Rutland, coming up through there. The new ambulance service coming out of West Rutland's coming up over Boardman Hill right there. So all the safety issue, for both fire and for EMTs, but also it has to do with the evaluation of our houses up there, coming up through. I mean, that has an effect on it as well. If we wanted to go and sell our home, we could be in the situation, well, we're not going to buy it because you have got to come through a class 4 road. All we're looking for is to have it taken care of the way that it has been for the past 32 years and have it plowed. That's it. That's all we're looking for. And it's a situation of where you guys here, the board, we're going there as citizens that live on the Quarter Line Road. And I don't see any of the Billingses or anybody down through there. We're all neighbors. We don't see it as, well, you happen to be on the Rutland Town side, you guys happen to be on the Clarendon side. We don't see it as that. We're all the same people that live on that road and all travel on that road. So that's all we're looking for, is just the cohesiveness of taking care of 3/10 of a mile for them, for them to do it. And
And when you guys approached the Regional Planning Commission, I think that's where the car counter comes from.
That's correct.
And you as individual citizens who live on that road, asked if they could put it there, and they told you no, because it has to be okayed by the select board?
Somebody on the select board has to approve the person who's gonna ask them. They don't have a vote. If you all say George can do it without a vote, then George can do it. Cash can do it on his own. He can just walk up without anybody's approval and go do it. And just ask, he can ask the planning commission all by himself,
Because he's the road commissioner.
the road commission.
All right, make that clear.
And then they get reimbursed by V-Trans, so there's no money out of pocket from Clarendon at all.
I guess I would like to say something to Art down there in the end. I know it's a long ways and we have to make sure the weather is the same on both sides of the table here, but these folks out here, I've spent some time getting to know and talking to them on this project, and I don't think there's a one of them that would be in a position to be other than kind, gracious, and as we were.
Did I say they weren't?
No, I'm just saying that I don't think that there's any way that they would present information that would irritate Rutland Town, even if it's a number of cars that go up through there. And I just think that maybe you're over concerned over something that probably will never happen. Anyways, Mr. Chairman, I've made a motion, it's been seconded. I think it's time to stop fooling around. I call for the vote.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those that are not in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Okay.
Nonsense. I am absolutely furious. Don't want to have anything to do with it, but then you just say no.
I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. Just, excuse me.
Thank you folks for coming.
Just to
Yeah.
give you numbers, it's
Well-
factual.
I think the
It's
car
alright.
counter should be used, but also on all of our roads. All of our roads. Every one of our roads should have a car counter on it for at least a month. Just so we can know what Cash is dealing with his roads and everything else. Because none of you have an idea.
You don't live up
And you
there.
can't go sit there for an hour and tell me how many cars travel that road. Whether it be your road, your road, your road, your road, or your road.
To that point, when I sat up there, I took time out of my
Oh
life.
yeah, and I agree.
And the reason I did that is because I personally wanted to know
Right.
how many vehicles actually
Yeah.
travel up there.
Yeah.
And I was surprised, especially in the morning, when I first went
Yeah.
up there, how many cars use that road.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, like when we just came down here, there was another car behind us coming down from my driveway and traveled down as far as Campbell Road. And we met 3 cars that were headed south on the dirt road to get down that far. There's 5 cars right there. And what's it take me to drive down through there? 2.5, 3 minutes? But I think our roads really should have car counters. I agree with Cash. All of them should have a car counter on them to show, so you can prove, this is why I'm doing this on this road. Doesn't have to be my road.
I was using like Squares Road for
Yeah, I know you're using Squires Road, but I mean all of your roads, Cash. You know? It's good information for you. And good things for you to fall back on. Because like you say, it's not just Coeur d'Alene Road you get questioned on. It's all 57 or 58 or 65 miles of road that you have to take care of.
I think you just having more information makes your job easier. Gaining information just gives all of you information that would make Clarendon a better town.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
And, oh, I do want to say to these other people, thank you for all your hard work. So,
Oh, we leaving?
I don't need us to go.
All right. The municipal impact questionnaire.
Is that this second sheet that we have
This-
here somewhere?
This,
Yeah,
and it,
put it straight here somewhere. Yep, I got it.
and this, has to be filled out. The boxes here have to be filled out. It looks, the way it looks to me.
Are you talking about the MERP invoice and assessment discussion? Because I believe that the municipal impact questionnaire was what V-Trans was coming to discuss with you.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So
That's
thi-
what I'm,
this
that's what
is-
I'm,
That's on the airport, right?
So this is what we're not doing this tonight because this is what we have to have V-Trans for.
Yep.
I'm gonna pass that to Cash. I think that accidentally got put in my packet and really should have been for him. I think.
I have no idea.
Not sure why that was in my stack.
This, municipal energy resilience program, community grant, that's, was under guest, and that's, the select board chair has to sign off on this. It says, please consider this letter as an invoice for the $4,000 community,
Oh, this is that grant thing.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that we get the what Katie applied for.
Yep.
yes.
Make a motion that the select board chairman sign off on the MERP grant invoice.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in
Who
favor?
seconded, Art?
Yeah. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Katie's notes also said, as far as the assessments, she forwarded you emails that the applications are now open, and she asked for you to discuss what level assessment you would like done and the priority of the buildings. She said she attached flyers that explains the assessment types, levels 1 and 2. Level 2 requires extensive documentation that she's not sure she's able to find as far as architectural plans, mechanical and electrical drawings for each building. But she was hoping to get the ball rolling on that if that was something you wanted to proceed with. That's all
what-
the information I have. That's it. So she apparently emailed that all to you.
Yeah. Well, there's, and
I mean, I guess,
is it
do you want me
something
to?
that we'd have to pick out an individual project? Like the town hall building itself or the garage? And then go forward with it? Or just in general? That's what I didn't understand.
I'm not sure. This was a project that Katie is working on. There is a one-page municipal energy resilience program fact sheet, if you will, of
Yeah, that's
showing
what-
what levels 1 and 2 are.
That's what we have.
Okay. So that's all the information I have. I mean, certainly if you have more questions, you could table that discussion.
I was gonna say, I think we need to, since she's kind of the contact, I think
Yeah.
we need her here to know what
She
we're
could
really
better-
looking at.
Better explain it.
I think what my little understanding with Katie was she wanted to know which one's priority in steps 1, 2, and 3, which buildings. But-
Which buildings are priority?
Yeah. And a 1, 2, 3 phase.
So
One being the most,
the most
and then
need,
the one, yeah. And then
which I think when we
I'm
talk
thinking,
about,
but maybe, like you said, wait for her to explain it.
well, if that's what she's really looking for, my personal opinion would be the town garage, because I think we've talked about the fact that, you know, we did some upgrades here. We did. We already had conversations just a couple weeks ago that we're going to put into the budget for heat pumps for the transfer station to try and offset some things over there. But I think, you know, you've done a lot down there, but
Right,
there's
but
still more things to figure out.
we did within financial reason.
That's right.
It's gonna be a major expense of what.
So I guess what I would say is if it's just ordering priority of the buildings, if that's what it is, I'll state it this way.
Right.
I'll make a motion that if she just needs to know which building is priority, I would make a motion that we set the town garage as the priority for right now.
Is there a second to that motion for discussion?
Sure.
Okay,
Do we want to put the second in there, or
Yeah,
just
that would be the-
because I think there was had to list 3.
Sure, I would say so. Second in priority would be here, and transfer station would be third in my mind, because I think that I know the community center is technically a municipal, I guess considered a municipal building, but I think that the community center committee has done a phenomenal job on upkeep of the building, adding things. They already have heat pumps. They already have different things that they've worked on. I think that's why I would say my priority list, and the rest of the board can go with it or not, would be transfer station here, or sorry, town garage here, transfer station third.
I believe that's what she was looking for when I talked to her last 2 weeks
That
ago.
would, and I'll amend my motion to state that. That if that's what we,
I'm
So
pretty
you're-
that's all she's asking for.
So you're saying garage,
Here.
town hall,
Yep. And then I would say
Transfer.
transfer station.
okay.
but those guys in the transfer station been trying to get us to understand that they need some, especially in the wintertime,
Correct, but we
upgrades.
Your
over
transfer
there.
station, it's not going to take a lot. You know, it ain't like the major project down
Yeah.
there.
correct. And the other thing is we have a propane heater over there. Even if we have to replace the propane heater over there, we have it over there, and we've already stated that we're planning to. I mean, Horst was here. We talked to him about the fact that heat pumps are a logical solution over there for kind of that borderline time of year. And it should cut down pretty significantly on the propane usage in at least the fall and the spring, hopefully.
Well, that and start out window doors.
Yeah,
That's right.
it needs to
That's
be
number
buttoned
one
up.
Those
right
are
now.
really bad.
It needs to be buttoned up.
Yep, sure it does. Which, again, we can look at our budgets. Maybe there's some little things that we can pick away at,
Yes.
you know?
Well, that's what I was hoping. All right, so you want to restate your motion?
So, my motion is if she's just asking us to order priority, my suggestion is town garage, town hall second, transfer station third.
There's, and,
I'll second it as well, yeah.
okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. All right.
That was half of her request.
Well, that's interesting.
That's half of her request? What's the
Her
other half?
request was to discuss what level assessment you would like done and the priorities of the buildings.
That was the other part. I couldn't
Okay,
remember it.
so I'll make a motion that we stick with level 1 assessments.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Unanimous. Good.
Got it.
With the chairman's signature.
Yeah, my original motion said that I think you had to sign. Yeah, we already did that. Okay.
Right.
You're good.
Be good. Okay. Any new business? Town officers report. Heidi, do you have any?
I'm all set.
Gloria? Bob, how you guys doing on the,
Neighborhood watch.
yeah, thank you.
We got a meeting Wednesday night. We'll see where things are then.
All right.
Now,
I'll tell you after that.
are you the one that's been ordering this rain?
No,
Oh, good.
not really.
Because I was hoping you were, because I was gonna have you change it.
No comment. Art, do you have any?
Nope.
Rob?
Well, Mr. Chairman, as we've had some interesting discussion tonight, I would just state that not all select board decisions are popular. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and one of the reasons we were elected to sit where we are is we have to weigh all aspects of the issues and come to a conclusion as best as we can. And although three of us tonight may not have had the popular opinion in the room, I think at the same time, and based on the reactions some of us received, we live in a country where we sometimes have to respect differing opinions.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy when we're passionate about an issue. That being said, I personally will state tonight, and we're still on camera, that if the road commissioner feels, and personally for me, I would like to see this situation calm down a little bit before we do something. But we've heard tonight that that car counter might be beneficial to have in other places around town. And if there was a priority list put together by our road committee, by our, or not, I shouldn't say committee, but by the commissioner and the crew, if they were to present a list to us, and Coeur d'Alene was on that list, I'm not going to sit here and vote no against that list just because Coeur d'Alene's on it. But I think that we were rushing and we were being pushed to rush into something tonight when there is some heated emotions right now over a particular issue. So I just want to state that. I just want to state that again. It's not like, from my position sitting here, that I was voting against all car counting in the town of Clarendon. I think we need to be looking at it from a perspective of I still will stand by statements I made tonight to the public that there's two possibilities. That information certainly could come back to bite us, but also secondly, from the emails that I read and from the information I had on hand, it was very clearly going to be used to pressure another select board. And I know, sitting on this board for a number of years, if something like that was to happen in this room, how this board would respond to something like that. And it would not have been a favorable response, at least from this chair. I'm not speaking for everybody, but from this chair, I know how that information would certainly be received if something like that happened when I was here. So,
We dealt with this on many issues before. I think you'll remember when we had other folks down here recently, and then going all the way back to when Margie and those folks came in. George, you remember that?
I do.
So I think, to your point, Rob, it's fair to say that everybody has an opinion,
absolutely.
and the democratic way is to take a vote, and whatever that vote turns out to be, that's how, there we go, move on. So,
I also would like to say too that personally, another facet to this that I don't think really came out tonight, and I'll state it now, would be the fact that at least currently, and I think George, you attested to the fact that you drove the road, so
yes.
At least currently, the issues had been addressed up there.
Yep.
And I know that there's a lot more conversation to happen, and I know there's a lot more things that are going to be taking place, and I know you do still have a meeting on the books to go and have a conversation. But what I'd like to say is there's also no harm in giving it some time to see if the situation has been remedied as of already. Is the situation going forward remedied? completely.
That's an interesting question that I'd thought about as well. And I have no answer for it. I thought it was interesting. Did you see the machine that they apparently used to grade that thing with?
Yeah, it was an oldie.
Yeah, and it was, what was it? It was one of the paving companies.
Well paving.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
well-
An older grader.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a small little unit.
Yeah.
But I guess it did the job, at least from what we saw.
So that's
I
just,
just don't understand why they couldn't ask Rutland Town to do it. Why are they asking us? Why can't they ask Rutland Town? They had no good reason why they couldn't ask Rutland Town.
I suspect, I don't know, because I didn't talk to any of them on this issue, but my suspicion on that issue is that, yes, they could have asked Rutland Town, and if Rutland Town said no, they were kind of done with it from that standpoint, in which they decided, I guess, to start off with us, so.
Because they are taxpayers in our town.
You got it. So. And again, I'm, you know, and I appreciate everybody has an opinion, and you'll never hear me differ on that one, because, I mean, politics is the art of compromise and majority rule, and that's what it is, and if you take it personally, and you shouldn't, because that's what it is. But, I am concerned that, you know, not to cast any aspersions on anybody, that, it might not have been any kind of a problem anyways, but I guess you'll never know that.
This too shall pass.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yes. Do you have anything else, George?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I got 7 or 8 things I wanted to bring up, but I'll stick to one in the interest of time and getting home before the rain falls.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess is the discussion that you started, Mike. My question is, what would, you know, what if Rutland Town says, we'll give you $1 million if you take care of the road? What are we gonna do?
I'd like to have a report from the road commissioner before we even consider that, because there's only the 3 guys
Yeah,
working there.
that's true.
How much extra would that cost?
It's not just the extra and the time and whatever, it's setting preference, and we have class 4 roads ourselves, and they're basically trails or whatever.
well, and I think too, we've had multiple conversations, and I think everybody, well, at the time, I think everybody, maybe opinions have changed. I'll be willing to accept that, but I know at the time, I used the example, and I'll use it again. If our grader was to break down on Rutland Town's half a mile, how do you explain to East Street, who's waiting for their road to be graded, you know? How do you explain to them that, oh, well, we were grading a portion we get paid by another town to do, and, oh, sorry, the grader got, you know, and heaven forbid it was a catastrophic breakdown where we're gonna be down for, you know, weeks. That to me would be a big issue, and I think our taxpayers would have a big issue with that.
Why would Rutland Town ask us when they can ask 1 million other contractors and get bids from 1 million other contractors out there that have the same equipment or more equipment, better equipment?
Well, my guess to answer that question is that from talking with other people that have had conversations with Rutland Town, is that they try to find the area of least resistance on some of their projects.
Well, I can also tell you that off the cuff, I did have a Rutland Town Select Board member say to me, well, we would just prefer to pay Clarendon and take care of it.
That's exactly my point.
So it's certainly, if that's one of their Select Board members mentioned that off, even if it was off the cuff
Yeah.
and not an official conversation, you at least, George, you're teaching, you would appreciate probably the statement, just as I have for a long, long time. There's always an element of truth in jest.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So if that's what's being mentioned, there's certainly some thought to that. So
What you're saying is very true, just in case.
Well, still, even if that is the case, then you'd still have to, we would still have to coordinate something with the road
Of course.
commissioner. And is that possible? Does that mean with that extra additive money coming in, could we, to your point, I think, hire another guy?
I don't know. Well, no, that's a separate.
If they're willing to
concern,
pay
Michael.
that much, then they're willing, they're gonna go with a
It's-
contractor.
yeah, it's
They're
not
not gonna.
Which might not be a bad notion in terms of the solution too.
Even a guy's salary,
They're not.
they
gonna-
can hire it out cheaper.
Yeah, they're not gonna pay that.
Yeah,
That's,
But
I mean, that's a good argument, counter argument.
But again, I'll state it again. I started my statement by saying that, Cash mentioned Squire Road tonight. Cash mentioned, that there's places that would be beneficial. If we want to develop a list, let this situation cool a little bit. Maybe later in the summer, we pick 4 or 5 roads that we think should be done, and North Quarter Line's one of them.
Yeah,
I'm willing to revisit this.
When you worked up there,
the
Cash,
only reason why I mentioned that was just an example,
Sure.
because it's a shortcut to
Well, and I think
eliminate traffic off Middle Road of heavy log truck, just for an example and stuff. And when somebody, John Doe comes to me and says, what the heck, you spend that kind of money on rebuilding that road?
Sure.
You say, okay, here's the numbers.
But
Something like that.
and the other thing I think too is we now know that this resource is available to us. That resource is available to us. I would question, and what we need to find out, because we don't really have thorough, to my mind, we don't have thorough information. I know Shelley offered tonight in her statement that VTrans essentially it's a
Reimburses them.
RRPC puts it out, but VTrans reimburses RRPC for doing it.
Somebody pays somebody for it somewhere.
Somebody's
somehow.
paying somewhere
And then
for something.
It's all federal on our pocketbook too.
And what I would say is, if that's the case, there is probably, and this is something that would need to be researched, there probably are limitations to some of that usage, if that makes sense. I mean, if VTrans is footing the bill, there probably are certain qualifications to the program for what, for them paying for it. I think that there certainly probably is more information that needs to be gathered in some sense.
I noticed one on I think it was Route 4 in Center Rutland,
yep.
and I'm thinking, okay, how many of these do they have? How long would it even take before we could even get it? I mean, it's possible that we couldn't even get it in time for their meeting this next time. We don't have any of the information that we would need for that.
But my thought is, I just assume to spend our energy on the miles per hour signs.
Well, and I know that, George, I think you mentioned that tonight, and I almost spoke up, but I kind of sensed some of the hostility already against the board's position, so I kind of left it alone. But I would say there is a difference between the data we're going to collect for the speed limit issue and this, because the car counter is simply car counting. We have to have the speed cart, because we have to log the speeds on the road.
I don't know if that machine, how could it measure speed? I don't know.
To my knowledge, and I guess we can check into it, but to my knowledge, it does not. It just
No, it just
just
counts.
measures weight,
Yep.
count,
It does
that
have the
type of
weight.
thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually. You have to have the
It-
radar
it
feature
tells you if
to
it
You'd
measure.
have to have something.
A
on
tandem
it,
truck
yeah.
or single axle truck probably.
Correct.
does
It'll
also.
tell you what
I think.
sign.
I don't know. I don't know.
So
they
That's what I
started,
read tonight with our
they started putting, that type of machine out there when the overweight permits, towns used to issue overweight permits. And
Yeah, but they
because-
don't weigh the trucks.
No, but what I'm saying was, when we were looking to do the overweight permits years ago, right, Bob? I'm glad you're here. Remember? And then they said something about, they come up with this machine that counts the vehicles and stuff like this, and it also tells what size vehicles.
Yeah.
And
Well, one of the people did say it would register pressure.
it's pressure.
So
yeah,
that's
weight.
the weight of the vehicle. So
Yep.
that car counter will measure the weight as it's going over.
So
That's what she said anyway.
Yes.
So I didn't mean to derail us totally off, but as far as selectmen's concerns, again, I just wanted to state that I'm not closed to this conversation in the future. If Cash was to come to us with a list of roads, and even if North Quarter Line was on that list, I'm not opposed to having that discussion. but I think the timing right now, the timing and the intent for what it was going to be used for is my main concern, and that's where I landed. So that's where I leave it.
Can I ask just one question? I know you're trying to get finished up here. If we were to take over, Rutland Town pays us to take care of that portion of the road, how much liability does that put on us as far as somebody getting hurt or something there?
Oh, there's lots of questions about that. I mean, what if? Lots of what ifs about liability. Who? Because if something was to happen, there's and say nothing. I'm assuming there's culverts on that section. Whose responsibility is it? Based on what we just experienced for the last 2 days, if there's a giant gully up there tomorrow, I mean, who's gonna
They answered my question a little bit. If you listen, read between the lines, potholes are started back.
Sure.
Yeah, they are.
That tells you, and I'm not going to say anymore.
They're not very deep, but they're
Sure.
starting to show up a little bit. You're gonna get the rain we got, you're gonna see it.
Cash, you have anything else you wanna
No,
add?
I'm sorry.
All right, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good.
What time?